Attaining my current life status required a tremendous amount of effort. I am on the brink of achieving millionaire status, all due to my diligent climb up the corporate hierarchy. Along the way, I cultivated a strong friendship with my superior. Furthermore, I am blessed with a wonderful spouse. Everything in my life seemed perfect until I uncovered my wife's infidelity. What's more devastating is that my career advancements are tied to her affair with my boss. The situation reached a climax when I decided to expose their relationship at a major company event, attended by all employees, including the billionaire owner. It's an unbelievably chaotic scenario. When I reflect on how my life has turned out, I can't help but feel a mix of emotions. The betrayal has left me questioning not just my personal relationships but also the very foundation of my professional success. Hello, my name is John, and I am currently enduring an exceptionally stressful period. My life was once uncomplicated, marked by a rewarding career and a loving relationship. I was the only child of my parents, fortunate to witness their profound love. My father, a diligent office clerk, and my mother, who took various jobs despite their instability, ensured we were financially stable. We owned a home, part of my mother's inheritance, which provided us with security. Growing up, my parents instilled in me the values of hard work and integrity. They were my role models, showing me that love and dedication could overcome any obstacle. My upbringing wasn't luxurious, but I received acceptance from prestigious colleges nationwide. I vividly recall the day I received my scholarship letter. Those institutions never made me feel inferior due to my modest background. This sense of acceptance fueled my determination to succeed. I attended public school, excelling academically, and eventually earned a scholarship for my master's in business. My parents were incredibly proud when, at 18, I ventured far from home to attend college. I missed them immensely. Despite the physical distance, their unwavering support and encouragement were a constant source of strength for me. College was an emotional roller coaster, revealing the importance of money. Many of my peers were affluent, exposing me to unspoken societal rules I had previously been unaware of. These newfound insights underscored the complexities of the world, making me realize how oblivious I had been before college. I learned that the world operates on principles that often remain hidden until one is thrust into unfamiliar environments. As I navigated the challenges of college life, I also discovered the importance of building a network. I forged friendships with individuals from diverse backgrounds, each contributing to my growth in different ways. These relationships, coupled with my academic achievements, laid the groundwork for my future career. Looking back, I see how every experience, both positive and negative, has shaped the person I am today. The journey has been anything but straightforward, yet each twist and turn has contributed to my resilience and determination. Now, as I face this tumultuous period in my life, I draw strength from my past and the lessons I've learned along the way. Entry into the most prestigious clubs was reserved for those who had achieved a certain level of popularity. Popularity often depended on having a beautiful girlfriend, substantial wealth, and owning an impressive car to shower her with gifts. Essentially, life was all about having money, which I lacked, aside from the modest allowance my father sent me for books and emergencies. My education was fully funded, so I never asked for additional money. Despite this, I made a firm decision at a young age that I wanted to become wealthy. My goal was to ensure that my future children would not only have an abundance of love but also a significant amount of money. Without distractions, I dedicated myself to my studies. This focus paid off as I diligently worked towards my goals. Eventually, I secured a respectable job with one of the largest corporations as an entry-level executive. The pay was higher than typical entry-level positions, which filled me with a sense of pride in my achievements. With my first paycheck, I bought tickets for my parents to visit me in New York, where I currently live. Although I didn't have much money to show them around or treat them to extravagant dinners, I still wanted them to witness my progress. They stayed with me in my rented apartment, which I shared with a colleague from work. This visit was significant to me because it symbolized the tangible results of my hard work. My parents, who had sacrificed so much for my education, finally had the chance to see the fruits of their labor. The experience of welcoming my parents into my new life was both rewarding and humbling. While I couldn't provide them with luxury, I was able to share my achievements and demonstrate that their efforts were not in vain. We spent quality time together, exploring the city and creating cherished memories. It was a testament to the values they had instilled in me and a reflection of the perseverance and dedication that had brought me this far. In the competitive world of corporate life, I continued to focus on my career with the same determination that had driven me during my studies. The lessons I learned about the importance of wealth and social status fueled my ambition. Yet, my true motivation remained the desire to create a secure and prosperous future for my family. This goal kept me grounded and propelled me forward, even in the face of challenges and setbacks. As I reflect on my journey, I realize that each step, each decision, and each effort has been part of a larger plan. My parents' visit was a milestone, but it was also a reminder of the continuous journey ahead. The path to success is ongoing, and with the foundation I've built, I am more determined than ever to achieve my dreams. While my parents were in New York, I took them to see the sights, including Central Park, the Statue of Liberty, and Times Square. These iconic landmarks were new to them, and seeing their excitement was priceless. Although we didn't indulge in expensive activities, the joy of being together and sharing these experiences was more valuable than anything money could buy. We also visited local eateries where I could afford to treat them. These simple meals were special because they symbolized my ability to provide for my family, even in a small way. My parents' pride in my accomplishments was evident, and their support motivated me to continue striving for success. Back at my apartment, we spent evenings talking about our future dreams and plans. My parents shared stories from their past, giving me a deeper understanding of the sacrifices they had made. These conversations reinforced my commitment to making the most of the opportunities one had been given. After their visit, I felt a renewed sense of purpose. My parents' unwavering belief in me was a powerful reminder of why I had worked so hard. As I returned to my routine, I carried with me the love and encouragement they had provided, knowing it would fuel my ambition in the days to come. Looking forward, I am more determined than ever to achieve financial stability and success. Each day presents new challenges, but I face them with confidence, knowing that I am building a future not just for myself, but for the generations to come. The journey is long and arduous, but with the foundation of hard work and family support, I am equipped to navigate whatever lies ahead. I was immensely proud of my achievements and eager for my parents to witness my new life in person. Things were progressing smoothly. Within a year, I had earned a promotion to a team leader position. This allowed me to secure a rented apartment where I could live independently, and life was genuinely enjoyable. During this time, I had the delightful experience of meeting my next-door neighbor, Sarah. She was the most breathtakingly beautiful woman I had ever encountered. Having gone without a girlfriend for an extended period, I was initially apprehensive about making the first move. Fortunately, Sarah took the initiative one day and invited me over for coffee at her place. I was thrilled and tried to contain my excitement, but I couldn't help but smile broadly and enthusiastically accept her invitation, saying, "Sure." Thus began our love story. We quickly started dating, and our relationship blossomed. After receiving another promotion and becoming the head of my department, I proposed to Sarah, and she said yes. Life exceeded my wildest dreams. We planned a beautiful summer wedding with close friends and family, and both sets of parents blessed our union. Just 4 years after graduating from college, I had secured a well-paying job in New York and was married to the love of my life. It all felt surreal. Over the next 2 years, I focused intensely on my career, aiming to provide for our future family and buy a house before having children. My dedication paid off as I continued to climb the corporate ladder. Meanwhile, Sarah and I enjoyed building our life together, creating countless memories and strengthening our bond. Our journey was marked by shared dreams and mutual support. Sarah's encouragement and belief in me were invaluable, and I strived to reciprocate by being a loving and supportive partner. We often discussed our future, envisioning a home filled with laughter and children's voices. In addition to our personal growth, we made time for our passions and hobbies. Sarah pursued her interests, and I found joy in exploring new skills and activities. Our relationship was a perfect blend of love, friendship, and shared aspirations. Reflecting on my journey, I realized that each step had brought me closer to the life I had always dreamed of. From my early struggles to my current successes, every experience had shaped me into the person I was. With Sarah by my side, I felt ready to face any challenge and embrace the future with optimism and determination. As we looked forward to starting a family, we remained committed to supporting each other's dreams and goals. Our love story was a testament to the power of perseverance, hard work, and unwavering support. Together, we were building a future that was not only secure but also filled with love and happiness. In conclusion, the journey from a young graduate to a successful professional and a loving husband was filled with challenges and triumphs. Each moment, each decision, and each relationship played a crucial role in shaping my path. With Sarah by my side and the foundation of our shared dreams, I was confident that the best was yet to come. Sarah's presence in my life added layers of joy and contentment that I had never experienced before. Every day felt like a new adventure, and together, we navigated the ups and downs with grace and mutual respect. Our evenings were spent planning for our future, discussing everything from potential vacation spots to baby names. It was a period of our lives filled with hope and excitement. My career continued to advance, and with each new role, I gained more confidence and expertise. I was driven by the desire to provide a comfortable and prosperous life for Sarah and our future family. The company recognized my hard work and dedication, leading to opportunities that further enhanced my professional growth. Meanwhile, Sarah supported me unconditionally, her love and encouragement fueling my ambition. She was my rock, and her unwavering belief in my abilities made every challenge seem surmountable. Our relationship was built on a foundation of trust and mutual respect, which only grew stronger with time. As we approached the next chapter of our lives, the dream of owning a home became a reality. We found a beautiful house in a neighborhood that felt perfect for raising children. It was a milestone that marked not just our progress, but also the culmination of years of hard work and shared dreams. Looking back, it was incredible to see how far we had come. From the initial excitement of meeting Sarah to building a life together filled with love and accomplishments, our journey had been nothing short of extraordinary. The future was bright, and we were ready to embrace it with open arms, knowing that together, we could achieve anything. Sarah was always a pillar of support for my career ambitions, never once complaining about the time I couldn't spend with her. We shared a mutual belief in the importance of climbing the corporate ladder, especially as newlyweds. I developed a friendship with my boss, Mike, who also happens to be the CEO of our company. It's quite impressive that he achieved such success at a relatively young age, being only in his late 30s. Mike is married to Emily, and the four of us became close friends, which undoubtedly helped me achieve my career goals more swiftly. Sarah was also deeply engrossed in her career, pursuing her dream of becoming a successful fashion designer. She was making significant strides toward her goals, and we both led hectic lives. Despite our busy schedules, we enjoyed a happy marriage. Even though we often came home late at night, we made it a point to wait for each other so we could have dinner together. As I got closer to achieving my career aspirations, I started planning to discuss the possibility of having children with Sarah within the next 6 months. One night, I eagerly returned home, ready to have that important conversation. However, to my disappointment, Sarah never showed up. I eventually grew tired and fell asleep on the couch, waiting for her. The next morning, when I woke up, she was still asleep in the bedroom. I left her a text message and headed to the office. The following days unfolded similarly. Sarah returned home much later than expected each night, and I refrained from questioning her because our busy schedules often kept us apart. However, an unsettling feeling began to creep in. After a week of hardly seeing each other, I felt compelled to investigate what was happening. Before resorting to any drastic measures, I attempted to discuss her schedule multiple times, but she offered only vague and evasive answers. One day after work, I decided to go directly to Sarah's workplace, only to find it empty. I called her from outside her office to ask where she was. When she answered, I heard music playing in the background. She said, "Hi baby, I'll be late today. I'm sorry, work's been crazy, and I'll be stuck at the office all night." My heart sank, and I couldn't utter a word. I ended the call, tears clouding my vision. Even though my sight was blurry, I grasped the situation. It seemed that Sarah was having an affair, the only logical explanation for everything that was happening. Unable to think clearly, I sought solace in a nearby bar. After 4 drinks, I lost count and eventually passed out on the bar floor. The waiter woke me up at 3 a.m. when they were closing, and I stumbled my way home. Unsurprisingly, Sarah wasn't there. My head was spinning, but I somehow managed to fall asleep. I woke up well past office hours the next day and heard noises coming from the kitchen. I found Sarah casually cooking, which left me utterly confused. I tried to make sense of the situation. Her casual demeanor contrasted sharply with the emotional turmoil I had been experiencing. I wanted to confront her, to demand answers, but the sight of her calmly cooking breakfast threw me off balance. I felt a mixture of anger, sadness, and confusion. Over the next few days, the pattern continued. Sarah's behavior remained unchanged, and she continued to come home late without any reasonable explanations. My suspicion grew stronger, and the distance between us widened. Every attempt to communicate with her seemed futile. Her vague responses and lack of transparency only deepened my mistrust. Eventually, I decided I needed to find out the truth, regardless of the consequences. I began observing her actions more closely, paying attention to any inconsistencies. My emotions were a whirlwind, but I knew I had to confront the situation head-on. The realization that my marriage might be in jeopardy was heartbreaking, but I couldn't ignore the signs any longer. One evening, I followed Sarah after work, determined to uncover the truth. My heart raced as I trailed her discreetly. She eventually entered a restaurant, where I saw her meeting a man I didn't recognize. They embraced warmly, confirming my worst fears. The sight was devastating, and I felt a wave of emotions crash over me. I returned home in a daze, my mind racing. The reality of Sarah's betrayal was too painful to process. I spent the night reflecting on our relationship, the love we once shared, and the future we had planned together. It was clear that our marriage had reached a critical point, and I needed to decide what to do next. The following morning, I confronted Sarah with what I had seen. She was initially defensive but eventually broke down and confessed. The truth was painful, but it brought a sense of clarity. We both realized that our relationship had serious issues that needed addressing, whether we decided to stay together or part ways. We spent the next few days in deep conversation, trying to understand what went wrong and whether there was a way to fix it. Sarah admitted that she had felt neglected because of my intense focus on my career, and I realized that I had unintentionally sidelined her feelings and needs. We both acknowledged our faults and the ways we had failed each other. In the end, we decided to seek professional help to navigate our issues. We started attending couples therapy, which provided a safe space for us to express our feelings and work through our problems. The process was difficult and emotionally draining, but it also offered hope. We learned new ways to communicate and began to rebuild the trust that had been broken. Through therapy, we rediscovered the love that had brought us together in the first place. We made a conscious effort to spend more quality time together, to prioritize our relationship, and to support each other's dreams and ambitions. Slowly, we began to heal and move forward. Looking back, I realized that this painful experience taught me valuable lessons about love, commitment, and the importance of balance in a relationship. It reminded me that success is not just about professional achievements but also about nurturing and maintaining meaningful personal connections. With Sarah by my side, I am more determined than ever to create a life that is rich in love and happiness, alongside our professional aspirations. Could I be overanalyzing this? There was a possibility that they were working elsewhere and not at the office. Sarah commented on my drinking and falling asleep, and I just smiled, not saying anything. I asked about her whereabouts the previous night because I wanted to discuss something important and take her out for dinner. My suspicions were confirmed when she once again claimed that she had been working at her office all night. I felt compelled to uncover the reason behind her lie, but I was terrified of learning the truth. Determined, I called my workplace and informed them that I would not be coming in. My plan was to find some clues to understand what was really happening and why. Sarah left for work around noon, and I stayed behind, pretending to be unwell. She kissed me on the forehead and promised to be back by 7. After she left, I waited about 5 minutes before deciding to follow her. She got into her car and drove toward her office, which seemed to validate her story. Nothing appeared unusual or suspicious. I waited in my car outside her office for the next half hour, hoping for some revelation, but nothing happened. Around 5 p.m., just as I was about to give up and leave, I saw my boss's car pull into the driveway. I quickly ducked down, not wanting him to see me, as I was essentially spying on my wife and missing work for no clear reason. However, instead of driving past, he parked next to my car. I then saw Sarah exiting the building. My body froze, and my brain stopped functioning as I watched the two of them briefly kiss before disappearing into his car. My wife was having an affair with my boss. What should I do? Update 1. Hello everyone, it has been a week since I discovered the affair between my wife and my boss, and everything that used to be routine in my life has turned into a complex ordeal. I wanted to share that the responses to my situation have been quite varied, but most of you have suggested that I confront her. As much as I would like to, there is a significant issue with this approach. In the days following my discovery, I have been grappling with my emotions and the potential consequences of confronting Sarah. I have considered the impact this revelation would have on our relationship, my job, and our future. My mind has been in turmoil, trying to decide the best course of action. I have been observing Sarah more closely, looking for the right moment to bring up the subject without causing an explosive confrontation. Meanwhile, I have been experiencing a whirlwind of emotions, from anger and betrayal to sadness and confusion. The realization that my marriage and professional life are entangled in such a messy situation has been overwhelming. Every day feels like a new challenge. At work, I have to maintain my professionalism while dealing with the knowledge that my boss is involved with my wife. At home, I have to pretend that everything is normal, even though I am deeply hurt and struggling to keep it together. The weight of this secret is taking a toll on my mental and emotional health. In the meantime, I have been seeking advice from close friends and online communities, trying to gather the courage and wisdom needed to address this issue head-on. Many have advised me to gather more evidence before making any decisions, while others have emphasized the importance of clear communication and honesty. As the days pass, I am getting closer to making a decision. I realize that I cannot continue living in this state of uncertainty and pain. I need to confront Sarah and my boss, no matter how difficult it may be. The truth needs to come out, and I need to reclaim control over my life. In conclusion, discovering the affair between my wife and my boss has turned my world upside down. The path ahead is unclear, but I know that I must face this situation with courage and resolve. Whether our relationship can survive this betrayal remains to be seen, but I am determined to find out the truth and move forward, whatever the outcome may be. Thank you to everyone who has offered support and advice during this challenging time. Update 2. Over the past few days, I have started to make plans for how to approach this situation. The advice and support I have received have been incredibly helpful in clarifying my thoughts. I have decided to confront Sarah and have a candid discussion about what has been happening. I am also preparing to have a conversation with my boss to understand his perspective. This is not an easy step to take, but I know it is necessary. I am prepared for whatever comes next, knowing that this confrontation is a crucial part of moving forward. I will keep you all updated on what happens and appreciate your continued support and guidance. I have exerted great effort to achieve financial stability, and I am not willing to risk it because of my wife's betrayal. I can't fathom why she feels the need for another man. We've only been married for 2 years, and already she seems tired of us. I've been losing sleep trying to understand her actions, but I haven't found any reasonable explanation, aside from the possibility that she might be a person who doesn't realize the weight of her choices. Furthermore, she remains completely unaware that I have discovered her infidelity, and I am unsure how to proceed. However, some of you have suggested seeking help from Emily, and I have been considering that option as well. It seems like a good way to balance preserving my career while still exposing Mike and Sarah. Throughout the week, I continued to treat Sarah the same to prevent raising any suspicions. Meanwhile, she has been talking about our future children and our dream house as if everything is perfectly normal. It was incredibly painful when she mentioned having children with me. I love her, and I had dreamed of starting a family with her. However, it took me less than a day to accept that those dreams are now shattered. My wife is manipulative and not a good person. She sleeps beside me, dreaming of her future, while being involved with my boss. My main priority was securing my position at the company before taking any action about the affair, so I arranged a meeting with Emily. Unfortunately, the meeting did not go as I had hoped. Although Emily and I were acquainted from a formal dinner we had attended, we were not close friends. She welcomed me into her home, but what happened next crushed my hopes. When I confided in Emily about her husband and my wife, she completely denied everything. She accused me of having impure thoughts and found my claims highly offensive. I was unprepared for her reaction and couldn't get her to understand the seriousness of the situation. She rudely told me to leave her alone, and I complied. Seeing Emily's reaction made me realize how deeply complicated this issue was. It wasn't just about the affair anymore, it was about how people perceive and react to such revelations. My attempt to seek an ally in Emily had backfired dramatically, leaving me feeling even more isolated in my predicament. I returned home with a mix of frustration and despair. The person I thought could help me had dismissed my concerns entirely. It became evident that I was on my own in dealing with this crisis. My trust in Sarah was shattered, and now my hope for support from Emily was gone as well. The weight of the situation was becoming unbearable. In the days that followed, I tried to maintain a facade of normalcy. I continued to interact with Sarah as if nothing was wrong, even though my heart broke every time she spoke about our future together. Each conversation about children or our dream house felt like a knife to my chest. The disparity between her words and actions was a constant reminder of her betrayal. I knew that confronting Sarah directly was inevitable, but I needed to be strategic about it. My career was still at risk, and I couldn't afford to act impulsively. I began documenting everything, gathering evidence that could support my case when the time came to confront both her and my boss. This process was painful but necessary. The days turned into a blur of planning and waiting. I was living a double life, pretending to be a loving husband while secretly preparing for a confrontation that could potentially destroy everything I had worked for. My mind was constantly racing, trying to anticipate every possible outcome and how to mitigate the damage. As I waited for the right moment to act, I reflected on my journey. From the early days of our marriage filled with love and promise to the current state of distrust and deceit, the transformation was heartbreaking. The woman I once adored had become a stranger, and the life we had built together was falling apart before my eyes. Ultimately, my focus remained on securing my future. I had to protect my career and ensure that I came out of this ordeal as unscathed as possible. The road ahead was uncertain, but I was determined to navigate it with as much dignity and strength as I could muster. The emotional turmoil during this period was immense. I often found myself staring at old photos, reminiscing about the times when everything seemed perfect. I questioned how things had gone so wrong and why the woman I loved had turned into someone I barely recognized. These thoughts haunted me day and night, making it difficult to concentrate on anything else. During this time, I also leaned on a few close friends for support. They provided a listening ear and practical advice, helping me to see things from different perspectives. Their support was invaluable, and it made me realize that I wasn't completely alone in this ordeal. Despite the betrayal I felt from Sarah and the unexpected response from Emily, my friends' encouragement gave me the strength to keep going. To distract myself, I threw myself into work even more, taking on additional projects and responsibilities. This not only helped to keep my mind occupied but also served to further secure my position within the company. I knew that in the end, my professional stability would be a crucial factor in how I managed to recover from this personal crisis. I also started to engage in activities that I had previously neglected, such as going to the gym, reading books, and even trying out new hobbies. These small changes were part of my attempt to regain control over my life and to remind myself that there were still things to look forward to, despite the chaos in my personal life. The confrontation with Sarah and Mike loomed over me, a daunting task that I knew I had to face eventually. The anticipation of this moment was nerve-wracking, but it also served as a catalyst for my preparations. I wanted to be ready, to have all the facts straight, and to present my case in the most effective way possible. Through all of this, one thing remained clear: I needed to reclaim my life. The betrayal had been a significant setback, but it did not define my future. I was determined to rebuild, to find a path forward that honored my efforts and aspirations. The road ahead was uncertain, but I was resolute in my pursuit of a better, more honest future. Before leaving, I asked Emily not to tell Mike and suggested she investigate the situation herself before informing anyone else. She merely nodded and gestured toward the door, indicating it was time for me to leave. That was my signal to exit. 2 weeks went by without any word from Emily. My restlessness grew with each passing day. During this period, Mike and Sarah's clandestine meetings continued at least twice a week. Sarah insisted she had to work late into the night and couldn't come home. Knowing this was happening made me feel a surge of revenge and anger bubbling inside. My frustration gradually turned into intense rage. I became resolute in my decision to expose them for their deceitful actions and the false image they projected as loving spouses. The deceit was too much to bear, and I knew I had to take action to protect my own sanity and sense of justice. Finally, after a fortnight, Emily contacted me. She asked to meet, but not at her home this time. We met at a nearby cafe, and she looked unwell. I asked about her health, noticing the dark circles under her eyes, hinting at her distress. She began to cry, and unsure how to comfort her, I held her hand and let her cry. The weight of the situation was clearly taking a toll on her, just as it was on me. Once she composed herself, she took out her laptop. I was confused, as I wasn't interested in seeing explicit images of her husband or my wife. Emily showed me several photos of young women, mostly in their late 20s, many wearing wedding rings. What exactly am I looking at here? I asked, bewildered by the array of images. These are the results from the private investigator I hired to look into my husband's secrets, Emily explained. My gaze dropped, and my mind felt on the brink of a breakdown. Emily had hired a private detective to verify the truth of my claims. She believed confronting her husband without solid proof would mean the truth might remain hidden forever. In her search for information about him and my wife, she discovered that Mike had been involved with 5 other women. The extent of Mike's deceit was overwhelming, adding to the betrayal I felt. Emily's tear-filled eyes mirrored the shared pain and understanding of our dire situation. As we continued to talk, Emily revealed more details from the investigator's report. Each revelation hit like a hammer, further destabilizing my fragile state. The investigator had compiled an extensive dossier on Mike's activities, detailing his secret meetings, financial transactions, and communications with the women he had been involved with. The thoroughness of the report left no room for doubt about his infidelity. Emily and I sat in that cafe for hours, piecing together the timeline of Mike and Sarah's affair and the intricate web of lies they had woven around us. Our conversation shifted from shock and sorrow to a determination to take action. We knew that confronting them with this overwhelming evidence was the only way to reclaim our lives and end their deceit. The more we delved into the investigators' findings, the more we realized how deeply intertwined our lives had become with their deceit. It wasn't just about the affair, it was about the elaborate facade they had maintained to protect their double lives. This realization fueled our resolve to expose the truth and hold them accountable. We devised a plan to confront Mike and Sarah together, ensuring neither of them could deny the evidence or manipulate the situation to their advantage. We decided to gather all the documentation, including photos, financial records, and communication logs, and present it to them in a controlled setting where they couldn't escape the truth. As we prepared for the confrontation, I felt a mix of emotions: anger, betrayal, sadness, and a sense of impending closure. The days leading up to the meeting were tense, filled with rehearsals of what we would say and how we would react to their inevitable attempts to deny or deflect the accusations. Emily and I supported each other through this difficult period, drawing strength from our shared goal of seeking justice. Finally, the day of the confrontation arrived. Emily and I were both nervous but resolute. We chose a neutral location, a conference room in a quiet hotel, to ensure privacy and control over the situation. As we sat across from each other, waiting for Mike and Sarah to arrive, I reflected on the journey that had brought us to this point. When Mike and Sarah walked into the room, their expressions quickly shifted from confusion to panic as they saw the evidence laid out before them. Emily and I took turns presenting the facts, each piece of evidence further dismantling their web of lies. Their initial attempts to deny the accusations quickly crumbled under the weight of the irrefutable proof. The confrontation was emotionally charged, but it ultimately provided a sense of relief and closure. Mike and Sarah were left with no choice but to face the consequences of their actions. For Emily and me, it was the beginning of a new chapter, one where we could start to heal from the betrayal and rebuild our lives on a foundation of truth and integrity. In the aftermath of the confrontation, Emily and I continued to support each other. We often met to discuss our progress and share our experiences as we navigated the process of moving forward. These meetings became a source of comfort and strength, reinforcing our commitment to reclaiming our lives from the wreckage of deceit. As weeks turned into months, I found myself growing stronger and more resolute in my determination to rebuild. I focused on my career, setting new goals and challenging myself to achieve them. The ordeal had taught me valuable lessons about resilience, integrity, and the importance of facing difficult truths head-on. My heart felt a deep sorrow for Emily, and I experienced guilt for my involvement in this entire situation. Emily seemed to be a genuinely kind-hearted individual, deeply in love with Mike, making it hard to understand his unfaithful behavior. With the remaining empathy I had, I turned to Emily and asked how I could help her. What Emily revealed next was as shocking as discovering Mike had been seeing 6 different women. Her full name was Emily McNeil, and her father owned the company where I worked. After Emily married Mike, her father made him the CEO of the company. This revelation shattered my perception of Mike as a self-made young billionaire. The truth about his success being tied to Emily's family was mind-blowing and added another layer to the betrayal. Emily reassured me that my job was secure and even promised a promotion if I helped her expose Mike's infidelity and facilitate their divorce. I readily agreed because I also wanted a divorce. However, there was much at stake for both of us. Neither of us had any intention of giving a dime to our spouses in the divorce, so we agreed to meet again the following Monday at the same place. In the meantime, we needed to come up with a revenge plan that was both reasonable and justified. When it came to providing evidence, we had a substantial amount. The private investigator had gathered proof of Sarah and Mike's affair. This evidence would be crucial in our plan to expose them. It wasn't just about confronting them, it was about making sure they couldn't deny the truth and walk away unscathed. Upon returning home, I was surprised to find Sarah waiting for me. She had prepared a nice dinner and urged me to freshen up quickly so we could enjoy it while it was still warm. However, my recent meeting with Emily had left me deeply troubled, and I couldn't keep my thoughts to myself. I openly confessed that I intended to divorce Sarah. The weight of my emotions was too heavy to hide any longer. As I stood under the running shower, my tears mixed with the water. I couldn't comprehend why all of this was happening. Despite everything, I still loved Sarah and had dreams of a future together with her. Her casual demeanor was causing my heart and ego to ache. I had an overwhelming urge to confront her with the concrete evidence Emily had given me and demand an explanation. However, I knew that if I took that step, both Mike and Sarah would become prepared for what lay ahead. Our plan to humiliate them and ensure they didn't get a single penny in the divorce would be compromised. Additionally, I couldn't bear to involve Emily any further in this complicated situation. The plan had to be executed perfectly, and timing was everything. So, I went to the dining room after my shower and did the complete opposite of what I felt. I talked, I laughed, and I had dinner with my unfaithful wife. She had no idea of what was coming. Silly girl. Keeping up the facade was excruciating, but it was necessary. My heart was breaking, but I had to stay strong for the plan to work. Over the following days, I maintained this facade, pretending everything was normal. I continued to interact with Sarah as if I was oblivious to her betrayal. It was a painful charade, but I knew it was necessary to protect our plan. Every smile, every laugh, and every conversation felt like a betrayal to myself, but I endured it for the sake of our ultimate goal. During this time, Emily and I stayed in constant contact, refining our plan and ensuring we had every detail covered. We wanted to make sure that when the moment came, we would leave no room for Mike and Sarah to escape the consequences of their actions. Our Our meetings were a blend of strategy sessions and emotional support, helping each other cope with the pain and betrayal we felt. I also started paying closer attention to Sarah's behavior, looking for any signs that she might suspect something. Her continued nonchalance about our relationship and her deceitful actions only fueled my determination. It was as if she was living in a separate reality, completely unaware of the storm that was about to hit her. The disparity between her reality and the truth made the whole situation surreal. Emily, on the other hand, was preparing her own moves against Mike. She began gathering more information about his financial dealings and personal interactions, ensuring we had a comprehensive case against him. Her resolve was inspiring, and together, we felt like a formidable team. The more we uncovered, the stronger our case became, solidifying our commitment to seeing this through. As the day of our next meeting approached, I felt a mix of anticipation and dread. I knew we were getting closer to the confrontation, but the emotional toll was heavy. I longed for the day when I could finally drop the pretense and confront Sarah with the truth. The emotional burden was immense, and the closer we got to the day of reckoning, the more intense my feelings became. When Monday finally arrived, Emily and I met again at the same location. We reviewed our evidence one last time and discussed our final steps. The tension was palpable, but so was our determination. We knew that this was our chance to reclaim our lives and put an end to the deceit that had been poisoning us. The stakes were high, and there was no turning back. In the end, the plan we devised was meticulous and thorough. We were ready to face Mike and Sarah, armed with undeniable proof and a shared resolve to see justice done. As we parted ways, there was a silent understanding between us. No matter the outcome, we had each other's backs. This mutual support was crucial as we navigated the final steps of our plan. The journey had been long and painful, but the end was in sight, and we were prepared to face whatever came next. I wanted to provide an update. Greetings to everyone. Over the past month, Emily and I have been meeting every Monday to discuss our strategy moving forward. I have received numerous supportive messages concerning the step I am about to take, and I am truly thankful for this community. Sometimes, it is challenging not to lose sight of yourself and feel like the worst person in the world for doing this to your spouse. Nevertheless, the positive words you have all shared show that you understand my perspective. I do not want to squander my life's efforts on someone who is clearly having an affair with my boss. Yesterday was Monday, and it marked our final meeting before putting our plan into action. Emily and I spent an entire month gathering evidence and monitoring their activities, noting how much time they spent together and what they did. Some of the information was hard to digest, but Mike's file was much thicker than Sarah's, and I could see the shame in Emily's eyes regarding her husband's infidelity. Why do women often think that if their husband is a jerk, it is somehow their fault? It is not their fault at all. If anything, they should feel relieved to leave such men, and it is the best thing they can do for their own healing. We decided that we wanted to expose them in front of everyone, and the perfect opportunity was at our office event, which was just a week away. It was quite ironic considering I was a candidate for Employee of the Year, and Emily was going to be there presenting awards to the employees. That moment was going to be our chance to reveal the truth to everyone. Emily wanted her family to be present, and I simply wanted Sarah to feel the humiliation she had brought upon herself by toying with my love and emotions. Finally, the day arrived, and we all gathered at the finest five-star venue in New York City. My heart raced, and I breathed nervously. Sarah, Emily, Mike, and I were all under the same roof, and our lives were on the verge of a major change. Emily was on stage presenting awards, and the announcement for the Best Employee of the Year award would come towards the end. I knew I would receive the award, but my speech would alter the dynamics of the company. The anticipation was palpable as I rehearsed the words in my mind. The venue was buzzing with chatter and laughter, but underneath the surface, a storm was brewing that only Emily and I were aware of. As Emily handed out the awards, I could see the tension in her eyes, masked by her professional demeanor. Each name she called, each handshake she gave, brought us closer to the moment of truth. My heart pounded with a mix of excitement and dread, knowing that what we were about to do would change everything. When Emily finally called my name for the Best Employee of the Year award, I walked up to the stage, my legs feeling like lead. The applause echoed around the room, but all I could focus on was the task ahead. I accepted the award with a smile, but my mind was racing with the speech I was about to deliver. "Thank you, Emily," I began, my voice steady but filled with emotion. "It's an honor to receive this award. However, today I need to share something important with all of you." The room grew silent, the audience sensing the gravity of my words. "As many of you know, we strive for integrity and honesty in this company," I continued, glancing at Mike and Sarah. "But recently, I've discovered some unsettling truths that need to be addressed." I paused, letting the tension build, seeing the confusion and concern on the faces of my colleagues. I then revealed the evidence Emily and I had gathered, exposing the affair between Mike and Sarah. Gasps filled the room as I detailed the betrayal, showing the undeniable proof we had collected. Emily stood beside me, her support unwavering, as we laid bare the deceit that had been hidden for too long. The impact of our revelation was immediate. Mike and Sarah's expressions of shock and disbelief were clear, and the room buzzed with whispers and murmurs. Emily's family, seated at the front, looked stunned, their faces a mix of anger and disappointment. My own heart ached, but I knew this was necessary for justice and healing. As I concluded my speech, I turned to Emily and nodded. She stepped forward and addressed the crowd, her voice strong and resolute. We cannot allow such dishonesty and betrayal to tarnish our company. Today marks the beginning of a new chapter, one where integrity and truth prevail. The event ended with a mix of emotions. Some were supportive, while others were shocked and dismayed. But I felt a sense of relief, knowing that we had done the right thing. Emily and I had taken a stand against betrayal, and though the road ahead would be challenging, we were ready to face it together. To be truthful, I was terrified when they announced my name for the award. As I walked to the stage, Emily handed me the microphone along with the award. I whispered, "It's showtime," and right then, the projector behind me went dark, and the spotlight shifted to Sarah. Every person in the room turned their attention toward her. As I began speaking, I said, "This award is dedicated to my loving wife for always supporting me and helping me excel in my career. I want to thank her for being my boss's clear favorite and for showing her true nature early in our marriage." Just after I finished those words, the projector started displaying very personal pictures of Sarah and Mike. The audience reacted with shock, gasping, and hushed whispers filled the room. Half of the attendees stared at Mike while the other half fixed their eyes on Sarah. Emily quickly grabbed the microphone from my hand and proclaimed, "I will expose you, Mike." Emily's father, Joshua McConnell, the company's founder and president, was also present, or at least he had been earlier. Emily looked at him tearfully as he canceled the event and instructed the guests to leave, leaving only the 5 of us in the room in silence. Mr. McConnell, clearly enraged with Mike, started shouting curses at him, vowing to ruin his life and career immediately. Mike appeared as though he had seen a ghost, and Sarah couldn't even gather the courage to look me in the eyes. She stared at her shoes for the next 15 minutes until I left. I went straight home, and as I walked into my house, a flood of emotions overwhelmed me. My life was in shambles with Sarah's infidelity, my broken dreams, and the risky move I had made that could jeopardize my career. I cried my heart out and felt more alone than I ever had before. I was on the brink of divorcing my almost new wife. We had only celebrated one anniversary, and I was about to tarnish her reputation and crush all my dreams in court over the next few months. No matter how much self-pity I felt, I couldn't find any excuse or sympathy for Sarah. I knew I was doing the right thing by filing for divorce. So, I opened a bottle of scotch to help me fall asleep. It was already 2 in the morning, and my mind wouldn't let me rest. As I type this now, I am almost tipsy, hoping I have included all the terrible details of the most horrific day I have ever experienced. The events of the evening replayed in my mind. Emily's bold move to seize the microphone and publicly denounce Mike was both empowering and heartbreaking. Witnessing the betrayal on display was like experiencing the discovery all over again, but it was necessary to bring the truth to light. As I sat in my living room, scotch in hand, I reflected on the journey that had led me to this point. The lies, deceit, and betrayal had all culminated in this moment of public reckoning. The fallout would be immense, but it was a step toward healing and reclaiming my life. The enormity of what had happened was sinking in, and I was grappling with the reality that my marriage was over. The following morning, the consequences of our actions began to unfold. News of the event spread quickly within the company, and the once sterling reputations of Mike and Sarah were in shambles. Colleagues reached out with messages of support and shock, but also with questions about the future. The path ahead was uncertain, but I felt a sense of liberation knowing that I had confronted the truth. In the days that followed, I began the process of filing for divorce. The legal proceedings were daunting, but I was resolute. Emily and I continued to support each other, sharing our experiences and finding solace in our newfound freedom. The road to recovery would be long and fraught with challenges, but I was determined to rebuild my life on a foundation of truth and integrity. Reflecting on the events, I realized that this painful chapter had taught me invaluable lessons about resilience and the importance of facing difficult truths head-on. Despite the pain, I felt a renewed sense of purpose and the strength to move forward. The betrayal had been a significant setback, but it did not define my future. With the support of friends and the clarity of my convictions, I was ready to embark on a new journey, free from deceit and dedicated to living authentically. The entire ordeal had left me drained but also strangely empowered. I knew that the steps I had taken, although painful, were necessary for my own well-being. Moving forward, I resolved to stay true to myself and never again allow such deceit to infiltrate my life. The experience had been harrowing, but it had also been a catalyst for profound personal growth. As for Emily and me, we have already started the process of obtaining a divorce. However, our lawyers were waiting to file the paperwork until after the annual event. We wanted both our spouses to fully comprehend the impact of their actions and not keep our divorce quiet. Now that the event is over, the paperwork will be processed soon, and we will face each other in court. I will try to keep you updated in the coming days. Honestly, you are the only ones I have been able to share my story with. Here's update number 3. It has been quite a while, maybe 6 or 7 months, since I last posted anything about this dramatic chapter of my life. Frankly, I have lost track of time. When you are either extremely happy or in immense pain, time just seems to slip by. That's exactly what happened to me. This will be my final update because the story of Sarah and me has come to an end. I'll share all the details, but it's challenging for me even to type this out. I want to say thank you in advance to all of you who had kind words for me and made me believe that I'm not a terrible person, just someone who's hurting. After the night of the annual function, I drowned my sorrows in alcohol, and when I woke up the next morning, Sarah was nowhere to be found. I didn't bother looking for her or trying to reach out. Once I was in a more composed state, I called Emily to check on the status of the divorce papers. She told me that both Mike and Sarah would receive the papers within the next 2 days. I was prepared and ready for Sarah to look me in the eyes and see the pain she had caused for no reason. The day of our first court hearing arrived. Our lawyers, handpicked by Mr. McNeil himself, were on our side, so I had full confidence in our representation. Besides, we had all the solid evidence needed to prove our case against our cheating spouses. It was finally time for me to inform my parents about the situation before they learned about it through the news, because, well, that's what happens when you're involved with a billionaire. When I called them, my mother started crying and sympathizing with me. They never imagined Sarah doing something like this, but they supported my decision to go public and get a divorce. In no time, they flew to New York to stand by my side. Explaining everything to them was both a relief and a heartbreak. My parents had always believed in Sarah and saw her as part of the family. Their shock was clear, but their support never wavered. Having them close provided a much-needed emotional anchor as I navigated the turmoil that followed. In the subsequent weeks, the court proceedings began in earnest. The atmosphere in the courtroom was tense as both sides presented their cases. Our legal team was formidable, and the evidence we had collected was undeniable. It was clear that Sarah and Mike's betrayal had not only destroyed our marriages but also violated the trust that held our lives together. Emily and I attended each session, supporting each other through the ordeal. There were moments of intense emotion, but we remained resolute. The public nature of the divorce added another layer of complexity, with media attention highlighting every detail. It was exhausting but necessary to bring everything to light. As the case progressed, it became evident that justice was on our side. The judge acknowledged the overwhelming evidence of infidelity and deceit. The final verdict granted us the divorces we sought, along with favorable settlements that reflected the betrayal we had endured. The legal victory was a significant step toward reclaiming our lives. After the final court decision, there was a mix of relief and sorrow. Emily and I had won, but the emotional scars remained. We had to rebuild our lives from the ground up. The support from family and friends was crucial during this period of healing. Their encouragement and understanding helped us move forward. The process of recovery was slow but steady. I focused on my career, channeling my energy into work to regain a sense of normalcy. Emily, too, found solace in her professional life, and we continued to stay in touch, offering each other support and friendship. Reflecting on this journey, I realized the importance of resilience and the power of truth. Facing the betrayal head-on, though painful, allowed me to emerge stronger. The experience taught me invaluable lessons about trust, integrity, and the strength of the human spirit. As I close this chapter, I am filled with gratitude for those who stood by me. The kindness and support I received were instrumental in navigating this dark period. While the wounds will take time to heal, I am hopeful for the future. The end of my marriage to Sarah marks the beginning of a new journey, one where I am determined to live authentically and with integrity. This will be my final update. Thank you to everyone who followed my story and offered their support. Your words and encouragement made a difference, reminding me that I was not alone. The road ahead is still uncertain, but I am ready to face it with strength and courage. Upon arriving at the courthouse, I observed that Sarah was living with her parents, and both of them were there with her. Regardless of how shameless it might appear, parents are naturally inclined to support their child, right? Fair enough. The legal proceedings began, and our lawyers targeted everything associated with Mike and Sarah, their careers, reputations, behaviors, and courage, you name it. They were thoroughly humiliated. I felt a pang of sympathy for Sarah's parents, who had to witness everything, but it was her decision to have them in the room, so the responsibility was hers. By the conclusion of the presentations from her lawyers, there was no room left for a defense. The courtroom was filled with an overwhelming sense of guilt, and I was completely confident that our divorce would be granted. However, Mr. McNeil had different plans. At his request, our lawyers insisted that Mike be removed from any position within the company and be given a negative character certificate, making it extremely difficult for him to restart his career in this field. Both Sarah and Mike were stripped of any legal rights over our finances. Instead, they were required to pay a certain amount as compensation for the mental harassment they had caused and were not permitted to claim anything from our joint accounts or finances, including those of our spouses. Mike even had tears in his eyes, and Sarah was overwhelmed with guilt. We were all too young to have gone through this, but in the end, we emerged victorious. As we drove back home, I received a text message from Sarah. It was a heartfelt apology where she expressed her deep remorse for putting me in this situation and mentioned her plans to move out of town soon. My parents tried to console me, but we were all too distressed to discuss the matter any further. The case and its details were widely covered by news channels, with our pictures displayed on the screen. The entire city of New York must have learned about what transpired among the four of us. It was a revenge I had desired, even though it wasn't the life I had envisioned with my wife. I genuinely believed that what happened was what she deserved. I took over Mike's position as a manager, just as Sarah had promised. Returning to the office was challenging. My personal life became a topic of ridicule, but I remained steadfast in my dedication to my career. I still believed in love and loyalty, hoping that one day I would find the woman I deserved. I had no idea what became of Mike, but I heard he also left town. Alright, that was an intense story. Now let's move on to another intriguing one. Stay tuned as we dive into story 2. Full disclosure, this isn't my personal story. It actually happened to a friend of mine who has been living in the USA for a long time. Although I'll modify some of the dialogue for clarity, my friend gave me permission to share his tale online. To make it easier to narrate, I'll present it as if it happened to me. I've also altered a few details to protect privacy. I share my living space with my girlfriend Karen and an old grade school buddy named Jake, who works as a sales representative. Our residence is situated on the outskirts of a well-known city in the United States. This living arrangement had been working well for all of us until an unexpected series of events started to unfold. One evening, as we were all gathered in the living room, Jake received a call from his boss, informing him of an urgent business trip that required his immediate attention. This sudden trip left Karen and me alone in the house for the weekend. We thought nothing of it initially, but soon, strange occurrences began to disrupt our peace. The first night without Jake, we heard unusual noises coming from the attic. Karen and I decided to investigate, armed with flashlights and a sense of curiosity. To our surprise, we found an old, dusty trunk filled with letters and photographs dating back several decades. These items seemed to tell a story of a previous occupant of the house, someone with a mysterious past. As we delved deeper into the contents of the trunk, we discovered a series of love letters between a woman named Margaret and a man named John. The letters spoke of secret meetings and unfulfilled dreams, hinting at a tragic love affair that had ended abruptly. Intrigued by this discovery, Karen and I decided to research the history of our house and its former inhabitants. Over the next few days, we uncovered more about Margaret and John. They had lived in the house during the 1940s, and their relationship had been kept secret due to societal pressures of that era. Their story was both heartbreaking and captivating, drawing us into a narrative that felt almost like a ghost from the past was reaching out to us. As we pieced together their story, strange things continued to happen around the house. We heard footsteps when no one was there, and lights flickered inexplicably. It felt as if the spirits of Margaret and John were still present, trying to communicate with us. Karen and I became determined to uncover the full story and perhaps bring some closure to their unfinished business. In our quest for answers, we visited the local library and historical society, where we found more records and documents about Margaret and John. It turned out that their love affair had ended in tragedy, with John dying in a car accident and Margaret living the rest of her life in sorrow. She had never married, and her letters to John remained her only solace. The more we learned, the more we felt a connection to these two souls. We decided to honor their memory by holding a small memorial service in the attic, where we had found their letters. We invited a few friends and shared the story we had uncovered, reading some of the letters aloud and reflecting on the enduring power of love. After the memorial, the strange occurrences in the house ceased. It was as if Margaret and John had finally found peace. Karen and I felt a sense of fulfillment, having brought closure to a love story that had been hidden for so long. Living in that house had changed us. We realized the importance of cherishing every moment with the ones we love and acknowledging the history that surrounds us. The experience brought Karen and me closer together, and we often thought of Margaret and John, whose love story had touched our lives in such a profound way. As for Jake, he returned from his business trip to find us changed by our adventure. We shared the story with him, and he was as fascinated as we were. Our house, once just a place to live, had become a home filled with memories and history, a place where the past and present had intertwined in a beautiful and unexpected way. In my late 20s, I found myself desperately in need of employment after the bar where I had been working shut down. Recognizing my dire situation, Jake reached out to inform me that his new girlfriend, Jill, had recently acquired a motel with a small kitchen and was looking for help. Naturally, I eagerly embraced this opportunity, especially since Karen was also unemployed. Our bills were piling up, and our health insurance premiums were looming. I called Jill and arranged to meet her at her new property for a formal introduction. Jake had already personally introduced me to Jill and mentioned that I had practical experience in the hospitality industry. To provide some background, my father is an electrician and firmly believes that if you can afford to pay someone to fix something, you can probably do it more affordably yourself. He imparted a wealth of knowledge to me, and he continues to do so even today. After a 30-minute conversation, Jill decided to test my skills with various tasks such as rewiring an outlet, unclogging a sink, and quizzing me about liquor laws. It goes without saying that I was hired on the spot. Initially, the work primarily focused on preparing the property for the business's opening. Jill had expected minor tasks like painting, replacing fixtures, and furniture, but we soon discovered that the electrical wiring was in terrible shape, requiring a complete rewiring. This posed a significant budgetary challenge for Jill as it would have exceeded her financial plan. Fortunately for Jill, my father was between contracts and offered his services using leftover materials from previous jobs, which had already been paid for. Any new materials required would be covered by Jill. Regarding payment for his labor, my dad simply requested a steak and beer on Friday nights. After 3 weeks of assisting my dad, the wiring was not only completed but also met all the required codes and cost significantly less. Jill and I spent the next month or two painting all 15 motel rooms, the bistro, and the bar, as well as cleaning the kitchen and cool rooms. Jake would occasionally offer to help but would always leave after 20 minutes, claiming he had to make a sale. Jill often worked late into the night because this venture was her dream. During my spare time, I would take furniture home to restore it, returning it once it was in good condition. The business finally opened after 6 months, thanks in part to my dad's assistance, and it launched under budget. Jill managed the business and oversaw the kitchen, while I worked wherever I was needed, whether in the kitchen, at the bar, or tending to maintenance. I was on a salary, held the position of second in command, and could work in any role as required. My diverse responsibilities allowed me to gain a deeper understanding of the business and improve my skills in various areas. The initial period was challenging, but it was also incredibly rewarding to see the progress we had made. Jill's dedication to her dream was inspiring. She often worked late into the night, ensuring that everything was running smoothly. Her commitment motivated me to give my best effort every day. Despite the hard work, there was a sense of camaraderie among the staff, and we all shared a common goal of making the motel a success. In addition to the physical work, Jill and I also focused on marketing the business. We created promotional materials, developed a social media presence, and reached out to local businesses to form partnerships. These efforts helped attract guests and establish a steady stream of customers. As the months passed, the motel began to thrive. Our hard work paid off, and we received positive feedback from guests. The satisfaction of seeing happy customers made all the effort worthwhile. The experience taught me the value of perseverance and teamwork, and I felt a sense of pride in being part of something meaningful. Looking back, I am grateful for the opportunity Jake and Jill provided me. It not only helped me during a difficult time but also allowed me to grow both personally and professionally. The skills I gained and the memories we created are invaluable, and I am thankful for the support of my family and friends throughout the journey. Ultimately, the journey from unemployment to being an integral part of a thriving business was a transformative experience. It reinforced my belief in the importance of hard work, resilience, and the willingness to seize opportunities when they arise. This chapter of my life is a testament to the power of determination and the impact of a supportive community. For about a year, everything had been running smoothly. Our business was profitable, my dad enjoyed his weekly beer and steak, Karen seemed happy, and Jake continued his work as a sales representative for a pharmaceutical company. One day, I fell ill at work and decided to clock out early and go home. As I pulled into my driveway, aside from a sinking feeling in my stomach, everything appeared normal. Jake's car was parked there, which was to be expected since he lived with us, so I didn't think anything was wrong. As usual, I parked my car behind Jake's. This detail becomes important later. When I opened the door, I was met with the shocking sight of Karen and Jake engaged in an intimate act on the couch. Jake hastily grabbed his pants and made a quick escape through the back door upon seeing me. Karen and I had a heated argument that lasted late into the night. She tried to shift the blame onto me, suggesting that I was never home and spent too much time with Jill, even though our relationship was strictly professional. Eventually, I went to bed and suggested that she could sleep in Jake's bed since it seemed more comfortable for her. I also called Jill to inform her of the situation as Jake was her boyfriend. Jill was understandably upset about Jake's infidelity but admitted that she had suspected he might be seeing someone else. She kindly offered me a room at the motel until I figured out my next steps. The following day, I loaded my personal belongings into my truck. Jake's car was still parked there because I had blocked it earlier. I told Karen that she could keep the rental and the furniture. I informed her that I would return for my tools in a few hours and requested that she not be present that afternoon. When I returned home to load my tools into my truck, I stumbled upon an unfamiliar bag beneath my workbench. Curious, I opened the bag and discovered several items that did not belong to me. Among them were various personal effects and documents that suggested Jake had been planning to leave town. The discovery added another layer to the betrayal I was already grappling with. It was clear that Jake had been living a double life, and Karen had been complicit in it. As I continued to pack my tools, I reflected on the events that had unfolded. The shock and anger I felt were slowly giving way to a sense of determination. I was resolved to move on from this betrayal and rebuild my life. The support from Jill and my father was invaluable during this difficult time. They provided me with a sense of stability and reassurance that I desperately needed. After loading my tools into the truck, I drove to the motel. Jill welcomed me with open arms, offering both a place to stay and emotional support. We spent hours talking about our respective betrayals, finding solace in each other's company. Jill's kindness and understanding helped me process my emotions and plan my next steps. Over the next few weeks, I focused on my work at the motel. The routine and responsibilities provided a much-needed distraction from my personal turmoil. Jill and I grew closer as friends, bonding over our shared experiences and mutual respect. Her dedication to the business and her unwavering support were inspiring. During this period, I also reconnected with my father. We worked on various projects together, and his wisdom and guidance were crucial in helping me navigate this challenging chapter of my life. My father's belief in self-reliance and hard work resonated with me more than ever, reinforcing my resolve to move forward. As time passed, I began to see the situation with Karen and Jake more clearly. Their actions had been hurtful and deceitful, but they no longer had the power to control my emotions. I realized that holding on to anger would only hinder my progress. Instead, I chose to focus on the positive aspects of my life and the opportunities ahead. Reflecting on the experience, I recognized the importance of resilience and the strength found in supportive relationships. The betrayal had been a significant setback, but it also served as a catalyst for personal growth. I emerged from the ordeal with a renewed sense of purpose and a deeper understanding of my own capabilities. In the end, the journey from betrayal to recovery was transformative. It reinforced my belief in the value of hard work, integrity, and the support of loved ones. This chapter of my life was a testament to the power of determination and the impact of a caring community. Looking back, I am grateful for the lessons learned and the strength gained. The experience taught me to cherish the people who truly matter and to let go of those who do not. With the support of Jill, my father, and others who stood by me, I was ready to face the future with confidence and optimism. Every step of the way, I found new reasons to be hopeful and motivated. Life had thrown a significant challenge my way, but I had managed to navigate through it with the help of those who cared about me. Each day brought a new opportunity to rebuild and refocus my efforts on what truly mattered. With Jill's business thriving and our friendship growing stronger, I found a new sense of belonging and purpose. The pain from the past began to fade, replaced by the excitement of new beginnings and the promise of a brighter future. Through hard work and perseverance, I was crafting a life that I could be proud of, one built on the foundations of trust, respect, and genuine connections. Upon closer inspection, I found a substantial quantity of small tablets. The way they were packaged and hidden led me to believe they were likely party pills. A comprehensive search of the house uncovered 2 additional bags and roughly $12,000 in cash. It all made sense now, and I realized that Jake's alleged pharmaceutical sales job was actually a cover for his pill-selling activities. It occurred to me that Jake might have given these pills to Karen during their intimate moments. At first, I was enraged, but then I realized I had everything I needed for payback. Jake's car was still parked in the same spot. I went inside, took his spare keys, and put on some gloves I found in the garage. I hid half of the money and one bag of pills in his car trunk. I removed his spare tire from the wheel well and hid the bag there. The other 2 bags I discreetly disposed of down the storm drain in the alley behind my house. As for the $6,000 in cash, well, Jake did cost me a house full of furniture, just saying. I sent a message to both Jake and Karen, following the typical script for someone who's been hurt. I can't believe you did this. We were friends, blah blah blah. I've left. I hope you two happy together. I then made an anonymous tip to the local police and the ATF, describing a man fitting Jake's description loading what appeared to be narcotics into a car that matched Jake's vehicle. I also provided a partial license plate number that matched his car. It didn't take long for law enforcement to find the car and discover the pills. What I didn't expect was that Karen was driving the car at the time. She was later released when they realized she was in the wrong place at the wrong time. However, a warrant was issued for Jake's arrest. As an added bonus, I later discovered that not only were the police after Jake, but his supplier was as well, since he had lost a significant amount of product. Fast forward 3 months, I bought a house and continued working with Jill. Karen was expecting Jake's child, and he was on the run. I suspected she was still in contact with Jake because she suddenly left the area when she was 8 months pregnant. 12 months after the incident, during a night of drinking, Jill and I mixed business with pleasure and started dating. That was a decade ago. We're now married, have 2 kids, and just opened our 3rd business. Dad still enjoys his weekly steak and beer. I heard a rumor that Jake and Karen ended up in Alaska, but I can't confirm it. I do feel somewhat remorseful about it now because Jake inadvertently made it possible for me to be with Jill and live a wonderful life. I genuinely hope they're doing well. Looking back, it's strange how things worked out. The chaos that Jake brought into my life ultimately led to a series of events that gave me a sense of fulfillment and happiness I never expected. Reflecting on the past, I realized that sometimes, even the most painful experiences can lead to unexpected blessings. The anger and betrayal I felt have long since faded, replaced by gratitude for the life I have now. My journey with Jill has been incredible, filled with love, support, and shared dreams. Over the years, we've built a strong partnership, both personally and professionally. Our businesses have thrived, and our family has grown. The support from my dad and Jill has been unwavering, and together, we've created a life that's rich with joy and purpose. I often think about the twists and turns that brought me to this point. It's amazing how life can surprise you, taking you from the depths of despair to heights of happiness. The challenges I faced with Jake and Karen were difficult, but they also taught me valuable lessons about resilience, trust, and the importance of surrounding yourself with good people. As I look to the future, I'm excited about the possibilities. Jill and I have big plans for our businesses, and our kids are growing up in a loving, supportive environment. We've worked hard to build life, and I'm proud of what we've accomplished together. In conclusion, while the journey was filled with unexpected obstacles, it ultimately led me to a place of contentment and fulfillment. The support of family and friends, the lessons learned, and the strength gained from overcoming adversity have all contributed to the wonderful life I now lead. And for that, I am truly grateful. Every step of the way, I found new reasons to be hopeful and motivated. Life had thrown a significant challenge my way, but I managed to navigate through it with the help of those who cared about me. Each day brought a new opportunity to rebuild and refocus my efforts on what truly mattered. With Jill's business thriving and our friendship growing stronger, I found a new sense of belonging and purpose. The pain from the past began to fade, replaced by the excitement of new beginnings and the promise of a brighter future. Through hard work and perseverance, I was crafting a life that I could be proud of, one built on the foundations of trust, respect, and genuine connections.
And click on the little bell icon for notifications of new stories.